Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Digest This podcast. You guys already know, but I'm your host, Bethany Cameron, and today is just going to be me. It's a solo episode, and I haven't done one in a while. I thought I would answer some questions that I get on Instagram. I thought I would give some life updates because I am getting asked a lot about a few different things that recently happened in my life. And I just love doing these little solo episodes because I can share a lot more than I can in an Instagram story or reel. And it's just a way for me to really connect with you, just more on a personal level. I feel like it's more personal and I can really go a little bit deeper and explain things a lot better versus 30 seconds where it just doesn't seem, I feel like I can't explain everything correctly and also give my entire take. I feel like social media, everyone is just so, they want everything in 10 seconds. And unfortunately, if you give someone something in 10 seconds, a lot is left out. And then there's a lot of misunderstanding, miscommunication, assumptions, etc. So if you do enjoy these solo episodes, please let me know. Send me a message on Instagram, write a review on the podcast, tell me in the comments on YouTube, because if you do enjoy them, I really love connecting with you on a more personal level. And I feel like these solo episodes are the best way to do that. So I just wanted to say thank you, first of all. And now I'm already getting like soppy. I feel like this is going to be a tearjerker episode. I don't even know, but I have certain notes. I have certain questions written down, but I don't have a full itinerary, and I'm just going to let the conversation go where it leads. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Let's talk hormone health for a second. And I bet you aren't expecting me to bring up electrolytes when talking about hormones. But believe it or not, electrolytes are an important piece of the puzzle when it comes to hormone health. There are fundamentals in regulating your hormones like getting enough sleep, exercise, eating a nutrient-dense diet, favoring whole foods over processed ones, and hydrating with clean electrolytes are all key factors when balancing hormones. In fact, there's a study in the NIH that states electrolyte imbalance can result in infertility. And that's kind of crazy if you think about it, but it does make sense because electrolyte balance is quite significant for our health. It ensures homeostasis, maintains reactions, nerve conduction, and proper polarity of cell membranes. Needless to say, whether you're a heavy sweater or not, electrolytes should be a daily consumption and incorporated in your routine. But you don't want to consume something full of chemicals on a daily basis. That kind of defeats the purpose and actually puts you further away from your health goals. That's why I use Element's raw, unflavored electrolyte drink powder mix, which provides not only sodium and magnesium, but also potassium, which is also helpful in blood sugar regulation, kidney health, and bone density. And the exact ratio Element puts in each of their electrolyte packs is science-backed, resulting in the exact amount we need. You guys know I'm really picky about what goes into my body, so that's why I choose Element's raw, unflavored electrolyte mix, which contains just 3 simple ingredients. Sometimes I like to add a squeeze of grapefruit for a burst of flavor, or simply just drink plain. And you can add more or less water depending on your personal taste preference. Right now, Element is offering my listeners a free sample pack with any purchase. That's 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. Just go to DRINKLMNT.com/digest to get this offer. Element also has a no questions asked refund policy, so you can literally try it risk-free. If you don't like it for whatever reason, they will give you your money back, no questions asked. You have really nothing to lose. So go to drinkelement.com/digest to get this amazing offer. That's DRINKLMNT.com/digest. Equip Foods prioritizes working with regenerative farms who let their cows graze outside and sources the highest quality grass-fed beef protein they can find. And while they trust their partners completely, they still do independent, routine quality and contaminant testing to make sure their protein is free of harmful amounts of heavy metals and toxins like glyphosate. So I have been trying to get in more red meat lately. And if you suffer with digestive issues, getting in red meat can be really hard to digest. I have experienced it. And if you're going through a stressful situation or stressful time, digesting protein in general is really difficult. But the benefits of red meat are amazing. And I just don't want to not have red meat in my diet. So all that to say, I get it. And how in the world are you to hit your target protein count without spending a fortune on quality meat and endless hours in the kitchen? It feels like just a never-ending battle. So getting enough protein just might seem impossible. But I found the solution to getting in my red meat in my diet without taxing my digestive system. I add Prime Protein's doctor-formulated, incredibly easy to digest and affordable beef isolate protein powder to my diet. Just one scoop has 20 grams of protein and is the equivalent to a 4-ounce grass-fed steak. I personally take their unflavored version, which contains just one single ingredient and no stevia, flavorings, or anything else added. It's easy on the gut and contains all 9 essential amino acids. The way Prime Protein is processed is the same way that bone broth is made, using low and slow heating to preserve the nutrition without any chemicals. The end result is the purest beef protein powder you'll ever find. They also take the extra step and do independent, routine quality and contaminant testing to make sure their protein is free from harmful amounts of heavy metals and toxins like glyphosate. So if you're following a carnivore, keto, or paleo diet and you're looking for something to add to your smoothies, shakes, dips, soups, and baking, I highly recommend Prime Protein from Equip Foods. And if you go to equipfoods.com/digest and use code DIGEST, you will get 20% off. And the best part is that it comes with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't love it after 30 days, just return it for a full refund. No questions asked. Again, just go to equipfoods.com/digest and use code DIGEST for 20% off. That's equipfoods.com/digest and use code DIGEST. I know a lot of you guys have been asking about if we are trying to have a baby, why we moved, eye surgery updates and all of that. But before I even get into that, I just wanted to give y'all a shout out. This podcast listener, they just wrote a review and I just wanted to share it. It just says, I love Bethany. I love learning how to take care of my gut and to be able to cook treats that I love but can't have anymore. I'm just starting to listen to her podcast. I love to watch her videos on YouTube since I am a visual person. I am learning so much from her. Thank you, Bethany. And this was podcast listener Luciana Venti. Thank you so much. I always enjoy reading all of you guys' reviews. So if you haven't placed a review on Apple Podcasts, please do so. It does help the show. It's a free way to support. And I love reading them. So thank you again for that. It takes like 2 seconds and it really does mean a lot and it goes a long way. Okay. So where do I even begin? I feel like it's been a few weeks since the eye surgery situation. If you saw on Instagram, I did share like some videos of the actual surgery because I was awake the entire time. And so my husband, Rory, he took a video because I'm in this room and it's clear, it's glass, like all the way around. And so he was able to sit outside the room and see completely inside because it was clear glass. And he was able to watch the entire procedure. They also had screens that he could see up close, basically of my eyes. You could literally see a little flap over my eye. And I hope I don't gross you out because I want to answer some questions too I have about the LASIK surgery. So he could see the flap of my eye. He could see basically everything that went on. Each eye took about 8 minutes from beginning to end. So it was not a long surgery at all. 8 minutes per eye is so quick. And again, I was awake the entire time. I was actually talking with the surgeon while I was, quote, under the knife or under the laser, I guess you should say. The surgeon was talking to me. He was like, hey, look at the red light, look at the green light, like kind of directing me and helping me through it. I obviously, before they opened up my eyes, they put drops in to numb anything. So I couldn't feel anything. I mean, it felt like a little bit uncomfortable, I would say at the most, but it didn't, no pain or anything like that. Now, the pain did come afterwards, which I'll get into because I opted for no pain meds, which is a stupid mistake on my part. But you know me, going to go all holistic, but I did it. So I'm laughing about it now, but it was no laughing matter at the time. So anyway, for those that don't know, I got LASIK. And I actually this was my second time getting it because I got it about 15 years ago initially. And I believe I was like 19 years old at the time. And they told me when I was 19 that most likely I would need to get a retouch because I was getting it at such a young age and that my eyes were still changing. And so because my eyes would change, they warned me and told me that I would probably need a retouch around 35. Well, I'm 34 and I'll be 35 this year. And yeah, lo and behold, 15 years later that I had to get another retouch. And I don't want to say I had to because my eyes were actually pretty good, but I wasn't able to, I'm nearsighted, but I wasn't able to like watch TV, like the news, like the words at the bottom of the screen when you're watching the news or some whatever, right? So it was a little hard for me driving at night, seeing street signs. It did get pretty blurry. And for me, it was getting to be an issue where I was having to use glasses more and more. I opted to get the surgery because thankfully the place that I went to, it's in Vision. So it's N, like the letter N and then Vision. And they're all throughout the United States. So it's not just one place. They have hubs all throughout the United States. And the really cool thing about them is no affiliation, by the way. I wish they did pay me for this. The cool thing about them is that if you go through them initially, then anytime after 20 years later, for whatever reason, if you need a retouch, they'll do it for free. Now, I had to pay for the eye drops, the aftercare eye drops, and I had to pay like $50 for like pre and post-op visits and things like that. But I mean, $50, I mean, this is a pretty intense, it's a not cheap surgery. Now, a lot of people are asking, well, how much is it? Like, how much is it to get the LASIK initially? So when I got it at 19, I was under my father's insurance, which was really good insurance, and it actually paid for part of it. Unfortunately, I can't tell you how much it was because a lot of the insurance that my dad had, they paid for it. Now, I did pay a little bit. Again, this was like 15 years ago, so I don't even remember how much it was, but I don't believe it was that much after insurance. And so to that note, you may want to check your insurance and see if it pays for at least partial and then go that route. Or maybe call Envision or whatever eye surgery place, ask them if they take insurance. That would probably be the first thing to do. See if they take insurance. And then if they do take your insurance that you have, then that's when you want to call your insurance company and say, okay, such and such place, they take my insurance. So then you ask them, so what do I pay? Like, what's my copay? How much is this going to cost me after the fact? So these are just all things to think about because a lot of people don't realize, LASIK, it is covered by insurance, at least part of it. The recovery I could drive the next day. I'll just say it. Like, I actually could drive the next day. And on the paper, the little sheet that they gave me, they have like next day things you can do the next day, things you can do a week from surgery, 2 weeks out, like what you can do, like when you could put eye makeup back on, like all the nitty-gritty stuff. And it was crazy because you could drive the next day. They were like, yeah, you can drive, you can look at a screen the next day, just take frequent breaks and, put in like lubricant eye drops. And so for me though, I wanted to be like extra careful. I did not want to look at a screen the next day. Like it was just too much for me. I was like, why even like chance it? So I did a little bit like precaution. But that said, yeah, it's just amazing. And the next day you go for like an appointment, right? Just a post-op. And the very next day they checked my vision and I could see 2015, which is better than 2020. Crazy. And the weird thing is that I couldn't tell that my eyes were better. And, there's pretty much everything is like that. Like you don't know what you got until it's gone, right? So I didn't know I had 2015 vision. I obviously could see good, but you notice when your vision is not good, when it's not good. When your vision is good, you don't really notice that. Like rarely do you hear someone say, oh my gosh, like my vision is amazing all the time. I can see great. No, it's like typically if you don't have an issue, then you just don't notice it, right? So anyways, they say I have now 2015 vision, which is awesome. And yes, driving at night, I have noticed that it's a lot better. And, we're still just weeks out. I got the surgery the day before 4th of July. So I got it on the 3rd of July. And I could see fireworks the next night. It was so cool and it was so great. And one thing I did notice was that I could see the words at church, like on the screen when we went to church. Typically, I would not be able to read whatever's on the screen, the verses, the hymns, like I couldn't see the letters, the words. So that was huge. That was a big like improvement. I was like, wow, yeah, I didn't really. Anyways, I feel like I'm just going on and off on this whole eye surgery thing, but I did get a lot of questions about it, especially the recovery. A lot of people were asking, well, now do I have dry eyes? Like they were concerned about that. I do not, nor did I have dry eyes. Now going back to the pain med situation, I did not want to take, so what they offered me was Xanax. And I was like, no, I don't want to take Xanax because typically right after surgery, you're just supposed to go home and sleep for like the entire day through the night. Well, so they offer you that so that you don't feel anything. And I was like, I just don't want to take it. Like I'm very anti that. So they're like, okay, like it's totally up to you, which was nice. They're like, take some CBD then, like try and do something to make you sleepy. So I was like, okay. Like we weren't even home yet and I started to feel the pain. Like the numbing started to go away and the pain was coming in. I was like, oh my gosh, like I hope it doesn't get worse. And like by the time I got home and like went into bed, I was screaming. Like we were praying to the Lord. Like we're like, what do we do? Like the surgery place was like about an hour away. So it wasn't like it was up the street. We can go back there and be like, hey, we need like more meds or we need some Xanax now. Like we changed our mind. And so I was like, oh my gosh, great. And it was around like rush hour time. So even if we did go back and drive another hour, we would just be in rush hour. It was just like not the ideal situation. So I didn't know what to do. So my body started to go in shock from the pain. Like I had never felt this much pain. And I just kept the entire time, I kept thinking of the men in war that didn't have pain meds and they had to like get their leg cut off and all the things. And I was like, okay, if they could do it, I could do this, and it was crazy. But my entire body was like going numb, going into a state of shock. Like it was shaking, tingling, couldn't feel any, like it was all of the things. And Rory was so sweet. He was right there with me just praying and we're like, what do we do? And of course I'm like kicking myself and I'm like, I just should have taken the meds. It's like one day I could, it's not like I'm on it every single day. And so word of advice, if you ever do get this procedure, opt for the pain meds. It was the worst. Like I told Rory, I was like, I'd rather be in stomach pain than this situation. But anyways, so thankfully my mother, God bless her heart, there was like there was a hub office kind of closer. So she drove there and was able to get some of the Xanax. Well, of course, this was like hours and hours later. By the time my mom drove up to our house with the pill, the pain was like subsided now. Like I went through it all without the meds. And so anyways, that was definitely an experience. But I mean, now obviously I'm fine and I can see. And would I recommend it? Yes. Short answer. Yes. I know you're probably like, well, not after that fiasco that I just heard, but I would recommend it, especially if you have, I don't know. Obviously, you have to go to your doctor, but if you have like any kind of stigmatism or anything like underlying issues, of course, they'll make sure that you are a candidate for the procedure. They're not going to just do it to anyone. So you have to be a candidate for it. But that is the eye surgery update. Healing well. They say, I have very healthy eyes. I was just making sure that I was healthy prior to the surgery so that I could recover well. And I think that's something we should all strive for, is just to be healthy in general, which is what I do try and strive for, is just to be healthy in general. So I think it is quite interesting, side note, where people have something upcoming like a surgery or whatever, and they're like, I got to get healthy for the surgery. And it's like, well, shouldn't you just be trying to get healthy in general? Like, don't you just want to be healthy for life, But it is quite interesting when you think about it, where so many, even doctors are like, yeah, just make sure, you want to be healthy for the surgery. Like, why aren't doctors just saying, why don't you just be healthy for you? Anyways, now that's just like a rant. But so that's that. Now, I just get all these different questions, and one of them obviously is the move. We recently moved, and it's actually been a while. So we purchased the home in February or March of 2024. And we kept it a secret for months. And during that whole time of keeping it a secret for months, like the house was still being built. And so we were just kind of like laying low. We were going through all the paperwork and like all the craziness. I was having probably the worst stressful time. I shouldn't say the worst stressful time in my life, but it was up there. It was definitely up there. And I was getting so many bad stomach issues from it. I was getting weird like menstrual stuff, like stress was just at the top. It was at the peak. And so anything stress related, I basically experienced it just from the move, and then obviously keeping it a secret. And you're thinking, well, it's easy just to keep a secret, online. And yeah, but for me, my job, my life is a huge part of my job. So it's really hard to keep something a secret when your whole job revolves around your life. And I'm trying to get better at that. I'm trying to really create a space where nothing is all one. Like I do have a separate life beyond social media. And I think that a lot of people, unfortunately, don't realize I have a separate life outside of social media. Like, for example, they're like, well, I don't even know. I can't even think of an example when I'm trying to think of it. But like so many people think that like this is what I do every single day, or because I don't know, have eggs in the morning, I have eggs every morning, or you know what I mean? Like something, if I show something on social media, they think that's what I do every day, which is sometimes the case, I will say. But all this to say is I am definitely trying to have a personal life. Even so, it's really hard to keep moving a secret or buying a house or anything like that where, your life is I don't know. My life, I feel like it's almost a reality TV show. And I don't say that in like a bad a bad way, but like my life is being documented in a way. And it's been like that since 2015, really, 2016, something like that. And in one part, like I'm so used to it now where it doesn't even faze me. Like I'm just so used to the camera. Like I'm not camera shy at all. Like it's just part of who I am now, which is a good thing, but also it can be a bad thing because I'm trying to hold back. Like I was talking with one of my friends. She's also, she does the same thing I do. She's in the space. And we were talking and we were like, I so often go to my phone and think, oh my gosh, like I got to share this moment on social. I got to share this in my stories. And we're both like, wait a minute. No, we don't. Like, we don't have to share every meal. We don't have to share every like thing that's happening around us, even though we have good intentions and we want to share everything that we're doing, everything that we're eating, because it's fun and it's part of who we are and who we've become just out of habit, honestly. As I get older, I'm like, I don't need to share this. It could even brighten someone's day. Like it could even help someone. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but I'm like, some things for me, for my own self, I don't need and should not share everything. I need to have that space. And so I'll go through ebbs and flows and periods of time where I'm just like sharing all of the things. And then I'll go through times where I'm just, a little bit more private in my life. And I think that's a good thing. And I think we should all have that. All right, you guys. So I have been making these special gummies and I have to give you the recipe. So get a pen and write this down. These gummies are so addicting and all you need are 3 main ingredients. They're not only good for the gut, but they can also help aid in hair growth, immune function, skin health, and they taste like a creamy ice cream pop you literally can just pop in your mouth. And all this is from the colostrum I add. So if you haven't guessed by now, these are creamy colostrum milk gummies that literally are like a pillow in your mouth. You can add a touch of honey if you want, or keep them 100% sugar-free for all my keto and low-carb friends. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about Armor Colostrum over and over by now, and for good reason. It's been clinically shown to help guard against inflammation and everyday toxins and pollutants. Colostrum intake has also been linked to fewer respiratory tract and GI infections in children and adults. In fact, there are over 5,000 published studies documenting the benefits of colostrum and its ability to optimize health from when we are born all the way through our elder years. But Armor Colostrum is different from others on the market, and it's something I started taking back in March 2023, long before all the hype. They use a proprietary cold chain biopotent technology that distills over 200 functional nutrients, guaranteeing the highest bioactive integrity and bioavailability. Another thing I personally love about this company is that they only use the excess colostrum from grass-fed, pasture-raised, happy cows that are no longer needing it to supply their young. So you are not taking away from animals that need it. Only the surplus colostrum is used, and Armra makes sure they are getting only the best from healthy USA cows from family farms. Okay, so here's the creamy colostrum gummy recipe. Just get 2 tablespoons of grass-fed gelatin, 1 cup of your milk of choice, dairy or non-dairy, 1 tablespoon of honey, which is optional, and 1 tablespoon of Armor Colostrum's unflavored grass-fed colostrum. And you can save 20% if you use code DIGEST at checkout on their website. It's tryarmra.com. Again, that's code DIGEST, and that will save you 20%. So what you're going to do with the ingredients is first you're going to pour the milk into a small saucepan, sprinkle the gelatin over the top and allow it to bloom for 5 minutes. If you're using honey, you're going to add that now, and then you're also going to add Arma colostrum to the pan. You're going to bring it to a medium heat while whisking. Just be sure not to boil it, just a medium heat. Now, once the milk is slightly warmed and everything is dissolved, just remove the pan from the heat and pour into any mold of choice or a glass dish. Then place the dish or the molds into the fridge for at least 2 hours or until set. Once set, just pop the gummies out into an airtight container, and then you're just going to return it to the fridge to store it. If you are using one large dish, then you can cut them into squares or whatever shape you prefer. If you haven't tried Arma colostrum by now, here's your chance. You can save 20%. Just go to tryarmra.com and use code DIGEST to receive a special discount for my podcast listeners. That's tryarmra.com and use code DIGEST. Again, that's tryarmra.com and use code DIGEST at checkout. So moving. Moving was definitely one of those things where I had to keep it a secret. And the reason why we moved is there's several reasons. In fact, before I met Rory, so probably back in like 2020, 21, something like that, when I moved next door to my parents in 2021, I actually secretively, I was still wanting to live somewhere else. I was definitely grateful. And I think that God really provided such a wonderful home and space for me in that time. And this was a time where I was single and I felt very alone. And I think being in an area where I kind of knew everyone, I grew up in the area, so I was very familiar with the city. It was helpful to me, and it was such a blessing that God could provide that opportunity for me to feel safe in the time and place that I was at in my life. Now, I did still want to move though. Like, I knew the home that I moved into next door to my parents was not going to be my forever home. I had greater desires, and just as I met Rory, my husband now, that desire grew a lot more. And Rory has been so supportive. He's never forced me to move or do anything. Like, moving was basically my idea, my push. It was my drive. And he went with it and he supported me through it. And so, good or bad, it's my fault. But we were just looking for a little bit something different. The home that I was in, I know this is like such a horrible, horrible excuse, but we were living in a 4-bed, 3-bath. None of the bathrooms had a tub. And I was like, I want a tub. Like, I eventually want a bathtub. No bathtub at all for years. And for someone with digestive issues or back issues or stomach issues, like, soaking in a tub could be so helpful. And so every time I would be in like an IBS flare, I was like, oh, I wish I had a tub. And again, stupid excuse, not the main reason we moved, obviously. But, sometimes it was just like that little one thing that's just putting you over in like a day where you're just like, that's it. This house doesn't have a tub. We got to move, but obviously not the reason. But we were just looking for something a little bit further away from family. And that sounds horrible when we want to look further away from family. We're still relatively close to family. So to his family and to my family, which is nice. So we're close to on both ends. Yeah, I just wanted our own space, basically. And it feels so great. And God we were waiting. I mean, we waited for years. We were looking at homes to purchase for about 2 years. So it was not a thing like on a whim. We were looking for a good 2 years to buy a home. And this when the opportunity came up. And so, just things happened to fall into place. God really just provided. And he has provided. He's always provided. And he continues to. And I want to give God all the glory for all the success, any success in me, anything. It is by God's grace, is by him. So I just want to put that out there. But yeah, so now we're in a new space. We're still adjusting, obviously, but we're really enjoying it. And it automatically felt like home when we moved in. Like within 7 days, we were like, I felt like, wow, this is like home already. So yeah. So I'll keep you posted on that because we are going to be redoing the backyard. And we're wanting to do a few different things in the backyard. So I haven't really shared our backyard on social, but we will when the time comes. Now, I am getting a lot of trying to conceive. Are we trying to conceive? Are we not wanting kids? Because this has, been actually a question prior to me getting married, actually. Like, hey, do you want to have kids right away after you get married? What's the deal? And at first I was like, well, yeah, of course we want to have kids like right away. Then we got married. And just also for those that don't know, and I have no shame in saying this, that Rory and I, we did wait to be intimate with each other until we got married. We believe that that's sacred for a husband and wife. And so we wanted to honor God with that. And I'm so glad that we did. And so once we did get married, of course, we were like, well, do we try right away? Or like, what do we do? And I feel like the expectation from everyone, when you're going to have kids, like when's the baby coming, like all the things just put even more pressure on me, especially being in the public eye. And I hate that question, honestly. Like anyone that has tried to conceive or like even the thought of, or like even in the public eye, and people ask these questions, it's really annoying. And it sucks because people are expecting you to just be like, I don't know. You just have all these expectations on you. You have even expectations to look a certain way or be a certain figure or never have wrinkles on your face and get Botox and like, yeah, all the things. It's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. And I understand why so many movie stars get Botox and plastic surgery now. I get it. Like, I'm not saying I'm a movie star, but I get they're in the public eye and everybody is looking at you. They're scrutinizing you. They are judging you. And I didn't really understand until I kind of had a little taste of my own. And I was like, dang, yeah, these movie stars, they must feel the pressure to stay 25 until the rest of their life. So yeah, it sucks. And anyway, so back to the whole like children, we didn't know. First of all, there's so many just different factors that go into it. And first of all, just because you're not using protection doesn't mean you're going to get pregnant immediately. And also, Rory, the timing. I feel like, I'm sure most of you guys know, but maybe some of you guys don't, that a woman can only get pregnant like in a very small window of her cycle. And that's it. Like a lot of people, I grew up, like growing up, even in like junior high, I never was taught this, right? Like I thought you could get pregnant whenever you had sex, that you could get pregnant, which is not the case. And obviously I knew this before getting married, but it's a little bit more tricky when you're actually like part of the equation. And whether that's just like timing. And I will say like the first couple years, like we haven't even been married 2 years, which I am actually so grateful that we did not have kids like next month, after we got married. I am so grateful we have had almost 2 years of marriage and no kids, because it has not been an easy road, marriage. I'm so grateful, but Rory and I, we never lived together before we got married. So really just adjusting to married life and to just living with each other. And so if you threw a baby into the equation, that would have just been like even more adjusting and just like a lot, And so I think within the year and a half that we've been married, it's been good to really just get to know each other and also just do things without a kid, we are so grateful for the opportunities that we have. And the more that we think about it and talk about it, we're like, yeah, maybe it's not a good thing to like have a kid, not a good thing, but maybe it's a good idea to wait. And I'm so glad we did, because we're able to do things. Because once you have a kid, like that's it. I know there's no turning back, you got a kid and they're a blessing. And I know that. And I welcome any pregnancy. But that to say, so are we trying? I think that's the big question. Are we trying? So we have like gone on and off on trying. And there's some times where you get really motivated, and then sometimes you get discouraged because it like didn't happen that month. And I've had some emotional things happen. We did end up having, see, I knew this was going to be a tearjerker. So I should have said this earlier, but so like early on, like our first year of marriage, I did lose 2, and that was hard. I'm sorry. I didn't think I would be so like emotional in this episode. But so we did lose 2, and I think that kind of made me stop wanting to try. So we did take like a break. And there's been a few people that I have like told, and I just like, I get angry at anyone that comes back and says, oh, well, you weren't healthy enough, or you didn't have enough like you weren't nutritionally like ready to and like all of the things. And I'm like, really? That's the first thing that comes out of your mouth when I tell you something really personal? And I think that's just horrible, first of all. So for anyone that says that to anyone, like shame on you, because there are so many people that have miscarriages and they're completely fine. Like they've been happening since the beginning of time. My mother had my mother had 2 miscarriages before she had me, actually. So there's a huge gap. My brother is 10 years older than me. My sister is 8 years older than me. And then my mother had 2 miscarriages in between them. And then she was like, hey, let's try one more time. And then here I am. Anyways, that has nothing to do with like your health has nothing to do with a miscarriage. I'm sure it can play a factor. It can be a part, but that's not the only reason. And I think that for people to even assume that is just horrible. You assume it on anyone. And so it's just been, I thought about doing IVF. It hasn't like crossed my mind. Rory and I have been praying. And the more I think about it though, like I also think like, it's all in God's timing, whether it doesn't even happen. Like Rory and I have also talked about, you know what? If it doesn't happen, if we end up not having kids, like that's okay. And we'll just be great aunts and uncles. And if we don't have kids, think of I'm sure there's blessings in just not having kids, just like there's blessings in having kids. You always hear it's always grass is always greener on the other side. People that don't have kids wish they had kids, and people that had kids wish they didn't have kids. I mean, not everyone, but I'm just saying that's, the stigma, or people with curly hair wish they had people with straight hair wish they had curly hair, and all of the things. And so, Rory's so good he's so supportive, but he's just so good to remind me that, enjoy life now and today, and stop reminiscing on the past, stop worrying about the future, because you're missing out on your life right now. And that's the devil trying to steal your joy, because the devil wants you to focus on your past. He wants you to be worried about the future, and he doesn't want you to enjoy the life that God's given you today. And I was like, man, thank you, Rory. Like it's so true that we are just missing out on, and I'm not saying you shouldn't plan for the future, but I think that it can get out of hand when it's consuming you. And anyways, excuse me, I feel like the whole IVF situation, I mean, I don't know yet. I feel like we haven't tried enough. We haven't been trying consistently. And this is another thing that I failed to mention. So We don't try every month. We've been married a year and a half. That's actually not that long. We don't try every single month for different reasons. When I am in my fertile window, unfortunately, timing sucks because I have the worst stomach cramps and I'm not in the mood. Or Rory, he is gone. He's been gone lately working for like 4 or 5 days. He'll travel. And of course, it is when I am in my fertile window where he is gone and away. And so timing has just sometimes not been on our side. There's just been so many different factors. But yeah, timing has definitely been, I would say, like 75 to 80% of the issue of just getting it right. And so I don't think it's also fair to say that we have been actively trying. We haven't been not trying. It's just one of those things. This is a lot of information that I'm giving out. This is like a lot of personal information. I hope Rory's okay with this, but he trusts me. But yeah, so another thing that I do want to mention for anyone that maybe is trying and is really just trying to like trust God. Like Rory and I, we've been trusting God. And sometimes no is a protection from the Lord. And not just with conceiving, it could be with anything, with a job opportunity, with so many different things, with relationships. Sometimes no is God's way of protecting us. And in a baby case scenario, we've thought about, okay, one, maybe it's just not the right time. It's all about timing. God saved Rory and I for each other for a very long time. And it was just all about timing. And I waited for my husband for a very long, obviously I've been married before and I was divorced, but to find the right person, I would wait another 34 years for Rory. He's just the best thing that's ever happened to me. And it's just all about timing. And so it could be just one for anyone trying to conceive, it's not the right time and it's a protection. Maybe there's a health issue. And we've thought about this too, like with things like maybe God is saying no because the pregnancy would put my own health in jeopardy for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe there would be a complication. There's just things that you don't know about. And you think, okay, Lord, maybe you are actually protecting me from something like severe that would happen if I were to get pregnant, God forbid, something would, happen. Or maybe it's not even like a health issue. Maybe there's something that's going to be happening in the world. The world is so crazy right now. And maybe it would just be too much to have a little one of what may happen in the future of what's going on in the world. I know the Bible talks about, it says, woe to those who are pregnant. Now I'm butchering the verse, but if anyone is familiar, it says, woe to those that are like pregnant and carrying a baby with little ones during the end times. And so I'm thinking, okay, like maybe this is like the Lord protecting us. I have no idea. I'm not saying it's the end times. I'm just saying like there are certain reasons why God says no. And Rory and I are really trying to give that up to the Lord. I also know, and that's one reason I don't want to do IVF. I'm not saying I never would, but I don't want to force something where God was saying no, because it's happened in my life where in other circumstances, I have like tried to do my own thing, even if like God says no, and I have suffered the consequences because I went my own route, even when the Lord said no, and I did it anyways. And it was just not the best outcome. Obviously, God had still blessed certain circumstances, and I do believe every single child is a blessing from the Lord. And this is also no shame to anyone. Please don't take this as I am shaming anyone for doing IVF. I'm not saying that at all. Again, I said that's still, maybe that's something that we would consider still. So I'm not putting anyone down for doing IVF. I think it's an amazing thing that humanity has created, like developed and figured out how to do. But just within our own the way that we feel personally. I don't want to just go against what maybe the Lord was trying to protect us from, for whatever the case. And so, yeah. And I also know that if I were to get pregnant, that it would be like a for sure thing, like, hey, this is from the Lord. Sometimes where it's like completely out of, like you think, oh, it's never going to happen. And then it happens. I'm not talking just about pregnancy. I'm just talking about anything, whatever it is. Maybe you win the lottery. I don't even know. But it's like there's no question that this is from the Lord. And that's something that I would love as well, is be like, oh, like this is without a doubt like a blessing from the Lord. Like this was supposed to happen. I don't know. I'm just like looking too much into it, but that is kind of the scenario. Again, with everyone asking, I feel like I don't want to be asked. Anyone that's been kind of in the same situation knows it sucks to be asked. Even when before I got married or even just like dating, if you're just dating someone, you know how horrible it is when people are like, so when are you getting married? Or maybe you're single and people are like, oh, so are you dating anyone? Like, oh, so you're dating anyone? You're like, no, like, stop asking me. It kind of is like, it gets old, right? So I feel like those questions are just, I don't know. Especially you may not feel like it when you're asking someone these types of questions, but you also have to think of the other side, and you have to think this person's probably getting asked this multiple times a day, and it's getting to be annoying and old and frustrating. So try and put yourself in someone else's shoes and just let be what let be. And I will tell you right now, in this time, I am recording this. When am I recording this? July 24th, 2024. I am so happy right now. Living my life. We just moved. We are still settling in. We're a year and a half into marriage. We are I would say pretty newlyweds still getting to know each other. We have our whole lives ahead of us. And so all that to say is I'm very happy. And there was a time where I just had to let it go. I had to let babies go. I had to let job opportunities go. I had to just let certain things go in my life to really be happy. And I think that's where we all need to be. Maybe you're on a weight loss goal. Maybe you're on a weight gain goal. Maybe you are just on a health journey goal. You're just trying to heal. You're trying to heal with whatever health issue you have going on right now. Remember, you just got to let it go sometimes, because I've been there too. Like when you focus on something so much, it can actually just get worse. I know stress can actually make things worse. This is actually scientifically proven that stress makes infertility worse. It makes gut issues worse. It makes acne worse. It makes your hair fall out. It makes you gain weight. I mean, it makes you lose weight. Stress is literally, they've even linked stress with heart disease, and that's the cause. Like so many things stem from stress. And I know this too. It's easier said than done, right? Oh, just stop stressing. I get it. But it's so true. And so just trying to stop focus on it. Don't put expectations on yourself. I know so many people that when they stopped trying to have a baby, like they got pregnant. I know so many people when they stopped trying to lose weight or be on a quote diet, then that's when they started to lose weight. So many things, different scenarios and situations where when they actually stopped focusing on what they were focusing on, that's when that desire actually came to fruition, and then it happened. So I don't know if that could be any kind of encouragement to you in your life, in your situation. Yeah. And I'm also not saying stop focusing on health and just eat whatever and just live your life. No, that's not what I'm saying either. Obviously, you got to work at relationships, work at your marriage. I'm not saying if your marriage is a wreck, then just throw in the towel and just let be what be, right? You have to work at things. But I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from as far as doing what you can and then letting God do the rest, right? Because I think that's when we try and play God, when we try and just like be control freaks and like do everything. I think we need to do our part, and we also need to let God do his part. So yeah, that's where that stands. And like I said, like I'm just happy right now. I'm happy podcasting. I'm happy doing stuff with New Zest, new stuff's coming out, new products, just being engulfed in work, which I love my work. I love what I do. And it's very fulfilling to me. And I love my marriage is great. God has blessed it. God has blessed my job. Like, again, I will just give all glory to God in every circumstance, because it's just, I'm not saying my life is perfect. Trust me, it's not. Be lying if it wasn't, or be lying if I said it was perfect, but my life is not perfect at all, by no means. And yeah, I just am focusing on the good and being grateful and being thankful for the time and place that I am in my life right now. And I think that's where we all should be, is just be thankful and be patient. Just like when we were moving, we looked at homes for 2 years. Like, be patient and know that God has something for you in store. And it may not be tomorrow. It may not even be in a year, but just trusting him that he has a plan, and his plan is always better than our own plan. So I feel like I've gone over with time. I have so many other questions that people are asking me, like, what is my opinion on this? What is my opinion on that? Q's and A's. So if you do like these little life updates, again, let me know. Send me a message on Instagram. Let me know that you listen to this podcast. I really am genuinely curious if you listen to this at Little Sipper. I'm sure you guys follow me there. And let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to hear more of on the podcast, any specific subjects, guests you want to see on the show, anything. I'm always welcome to feedback. And just your support means so much. And I wake up every morning and I look forward to connecting with you guys on Instagram, via the podcast, now YouTube. Like, I don't even know anymore. There's so many like social media apps. And yeah, so I hope that this episode blessed you. And I hope to have another conversation with you guys really soon. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of Digest This. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review in your podcast app to let us know. If you're ever wondering how you can support me and this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family is the best way. This is a Resonant Media production produced by Drake Peterson and edited by Mike Fry. To email the show, message us at digestthispod@gmail.com. See you next time. The content of this show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical and mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or health team first.